Turn the microphone on. Good evening. I have 6:31. I'll call to order this meeting of the Columbus Common Council regular meeting for Tuesday, July 18th, 2017. And when you're ready, could you please take the roll?
Kenny,
Here.
Malat, Reed, Rule,
Here.
Traxler,
Here.
Hendrickson,
Here.
Tone,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. If able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting has been noticed accordingly to state statutes and local ordinances. On to approve the agenda. Unless there's any alterations or deletions, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Agenda is approved. On to correspondence and communications. On the agenda this evening, we have DOT representatives to come and give us a review of the James Street project and the East James sidewalks. We have Dave Pylon, who is the project manager. We have Bob Lemke, who is the project leader. We have Megan Scherer, the assistant project leader, and we also have Carla Knorr, I believe. So I don't know how we want to go about this, but I think it's best to have Dave get up and if there are questions that people want to ask after the presentation from the DOT.
Okay. What's that? Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Can I get this switched over? Oh, here it goes. Okay. This is the sidewalk that everybody's talking about. I like to call this the Columbus sidewalk malfeasance. Does anybody know what malfeasance means? I didn't know until this morning, but it was malfeasance as defined by Webster's is wrongdoing by a public official. So public officials were involved with this, so there you go. Okay, few facts. Between Ludington and Water Street, James Street drops in elevation 14.63 feet in 300 feet. So it has quite a drop between the two streets, and it's not a very long distance. Between Ludington and Water Street, the face of the curb and gutter is located 24 feet from center line. This is the same as the curb and gutter we took out from the old roadway. So curb and gutter's back in the same spot. Elevation of the old roadway and new roadway is essentially the same, varying from 4 inches above existing near Ludington to near the same elevation. So we pretty much, the designers, KL Engineering, pretty much put the roadway back where it was before. How do we know this? Did the contractor build the roadway to plan? Megan and Bob went out last week and verified that the roadway was put in largely to plan. There's some minor elevation distances. I can furnish this spreadsheet to the city. You can't see the whole thing right now, but yes, they verified that we put the roadway in, or the contractor put the roadway in where it was supposed to be. So was it designed wrong? Well, no. The sidewalk was designed to ADA standards using Chapter 11-46, Complete Streets of the Wisconsin Department of Transportation Facilities Development Manual and a Wisconsin Guide to Pedestrian Best Practices. Back about 28 years ago, when I went and got my professional engineering license, there was an additional 20-minute test you could take, and that was for ADA compliance. So I took the test, I passed the test, and for about 25 years, I was putting in ADA facilities wrong. About, say, 7 years ago, the Department of Transportation started looking at what ADA standards really were and started enforcing how we're supposed to put in sidewalk and curb ramp. So what we used to do is not what we do today. That's one thing we need to understand. The way we used to put sidewalk in, such as what was put in the 90s by the DOT, we used to straight line from the building right to the back of the curb and gutter. And I used to do that. Everybody did. That's the way we put in sidewalk in a downtown area. We don't do that anymore. Now, the way we put in sidewalk is the center area is considered the area where you're supposed to be walking. And this is how the sidewalk was put in Columbus between Ludington Street and Water Street on the left side going downhill. The area that they call the furniture zone, which is also known as the terrace, is 3.5 feet wide. That's what we have on Ludington Street. No, on James Street, I'm sorry. On James Street in that 100 block going down the hill. This is where you're supposed to put signs, light poles, plantings, bike racks, benches. It's not really considered the area where you walk. The pedestrian zone is generally 5 feet wide and needs to be as straight as possible and clear from objects to interfere with the visually impaired when walking. The frontage zone is the area that is between the sidewalk and the business. That's where we match into the businesses. In Columbus, it's generally 1.5 feet wide, but it really varies widely. In some spots, it even encroaches on the pedestrian zone. And if you look here, you can see the sidewalk. The terrace is basically 3.5 feet wide. It goes pretty straight. Everything's pretty straight, but you'll notice that there are encroachments. Every once in a while, you'll see a step or something kicking out into the sidewalk. So that area between the building and the sidewalk, it varies a lot. The other side of the street is even worse because we have to take care of steps. So we had to wiggle the sidewalk through that area the best we could. Can you do that? Yes, you can. It's not encouraged, but sometimes you have to do it like this, with trying to keep things as straight as possible so a visually impaired person can make their way through. A few years ago, the DOT did another job, and they put objects in the way of the visually impaired. So in Columbus, we tried to not do this. We tried to avoid it. So we put the sidewalk as straight as we possibly could. Now we get into cross slopes of the sidewalk. This is a greatly simplified way of putting the ADA standards. I'm not going through all of them. I'm just going through some pertinent ones I think cause us problems here, or maybe an issue that we haven't seen before. On a sidewalk, the maximum cross slope, according to ADA, is 2%. The minimum cross slope to achieve drainage is 1%. So that sidewalk where you're walking needs to be fairly flat, which means that 5-foot panel of sidewalk that you're walking on, it tips towards the street a maximum of 1.25 inches. The terrace is the area, obviously, between the face of the curb and the edge of the sidewalk. I copied this from our manual. The curb zone and the furniture planting zone. Grass terraces have a minimum transverse slope of 4%. Paved terraces have a minimum of transverse slope of 2%. And that's the designers adhere to this because there is no maximum cross slope on terraces. So that's what the designers did. The Wisconsin Guide to Pedestrian Best Practices states greater slopes are permitted and often necessitated to account for grade differences between the sidewalk and curb. In rare situations, a step may be used to accommodate significant grade differences. In this case, there should be a 1-foot flat distance between the step and the sidewalk. Now let's remember that little blurb there, because I'll come to that later. Also, significant grade difference is nowhere defined in the Wisconsin Guide to Pedestrian Best Practices. So they don't tell you what the maximum slope you can put on a terrace is. It's not in there. Yeah, but now we'll get to the good part of the presentation. But can I open a car door? So I went out and obtained the state sidewalk approval unit, which is a 2010 Ford Fusion with 117,000 miles on it. So I went and parked it this morning in stall 1. Yes, I can open a door with ease. I think there's 5 stalls. I missed one stall's picture. Stall 2, I can open a door. Stall 3, which is up near, getting up towards the cage, yes, I can open a door. Stall 4, I can even open a door there. But I'm missing something. So I got the stall 4, I got a passenger, and this is before he had lunch. He does like to eat lunch, so maybe I can't open it there. However, that's my clearance with my passenger before lunch. Not much. So no, this is not a good situation. I recognize that. If you had a 2-door car, you'd be scraping. There are not many 2-door cars being made right now, but if you had one there, you'd probably run into problems because the doors are longer. Okay, now this area where it's the worst is the most the sidewalk is actually above the top of curb is 9.5 inches. There is an area there where I have 2 lines and Bob's standing next to it. I don't think you can see the one on the right very well, but he's got a paint can sitting there on the ground, and it's 78 feet long, that area where we have the curb is at least, or the sidewalk is at least 7 inches above the top of the curb. 7 inches is also the height of your average step. The Wisconsin Pedestrian Guide to Pedestrian Best Practices states, a railing or a fence is required when the sidewalk is adjacent to a vertical drop of more than 1 foot. We don't have a drop of a foot, so no railings required. But what about people slipping on the steep slope of the terrace in winter? Yes, that can happen. We all recognize that. So, I made a suggestion. How about placing a step in the areas where the terrace is 7 inches above the top of the curb or greater? A standard step is 7 inches. This could be an option, and this is allowed by ADA. So I drew this up. What we do is we take out the terrace where we're at over 7 inches, and we'd put in this step. The step would be between 7 and 9.5 inches tall, and that would be where your terrace is to eliminate the slipping problem. You may want to go more, you may want to go less, but this is just an option we could look at. It's whatever you want to do. I'm just giving you an option, something that I thought of when I was reading the manual, seeing what is allowed. I'm just kind of put some slides together here of what things look like as we go down the street. This is starting near the top, and the terrace is pretty decent. You can see that we had to match into a lot of doorways at these buildings. And the doorways, you can see that the doorways keep dropping, and we have to make a decent entrance for the folks to go in and out of the buildings. So that's part of what makes the sidewalk vary. This is getting down by the cage. Same thing, we had to match the doorways. You can see the doorways dropping. Right in here, it looks like it was fairly difficult to match the doorways, and it's pretty steep in the terrace area. And this is where the worst two parking spots are. Then we had to match the driveway. And this is down at the end. Now there's a little bump in the sidewalk by the doorway that goes upstairs at O'Brien Photography. We had to match a step there, so that kind of puts a little peak in the sidewalk. We didn't want a person coming out and stepping at an angle, so we matched that and then kept going down. Also by ADA, on a street like this where you have a drop of a large amount is greater than a 5% slope, we're supposed to put a flat spot in with every grade difference of 2.5 feet. So that way a person going up the hill or down the hill in a real wheelchair has a place where they can rest and not be pulled down the hill. So our project staff tried to put these in conjunction with doorways and things of that nature. So every so often, drop in grade of 2.5 feet or so, we'll have a flat spot and then you keep going down. So you may see a little wave in the sidewalk every once in a while. That was to accommodate, that's kind of like a resting spot. I believe I've reached the end. So, any questions?
Joyce, if you wouldn't mind, could you get up and ask the question in the microphone, just so people that are watching can hear the question? Sorry, Jocelyn.
Joycelyn, you were right.
Okay.
Can you tell me what other towns you have done that with new sidewalks and roads like that? I'm sure they're not all flat. You know, they must have some hills or,
Towns that I have done, this is the first one I've had that's had this large of a grade difference in the downtown area. I'm sure there are some places that we have done them statewide. I know in Hurley, up near the Ironwood, or the Wisconsin-Michigan border, they have this, and from 51 down to the state line, there's a large drop to the Montreal River. They have old buildings just like this, and the way they solved their terrace problem, because it was so severe, is they have 2 steps going down to the street. That's what they did. There's no railing, but that's the way they met ADA there. That's the worst case scenario I've seen.
how do steps help a wheelchair?
Dave,
Wheelchair is not.
Could you stand up just so people can hear
Yeah.
what you're saying? Sorry.
The person isn't supposed to be on the steps with a wheelchair. He'd cross at the handicap ramps. They're not riding on the terrace. They're supposed to be riding on the 5-foot section of the sidewalk.
I think what we will have to do is put up a sign at the beginning of the block. Only walk on this part that you're supposed to. Don't walk on the slant. Because you know, if you have 3 or 4 friends and you're walking in a row and you're talking, and not everybody's going to be on that.
Yeah,
How wide is that where they're supposed to be?
5 feet.
Yeah, not everybody's going to be on that 5 feet. They're not going to think about that. I mean,
That's true.
it's just weird. I feel bad for Columbus. They have this all new street and the road and the 4 corners is beautiful. But that's so sad.
Okay, well,
You're the engineer and you thought this was right, so I guess we will live with it.
I don't think I'm the only person that thinks this is the correct way.
I don't think I'm the only person that doesn't like it.
I understand that. I know why people don't like it, because they don't like the slope. And the slope by ADA and by our rules is the way to do it. You could also put a step in. Those are the two options that you have. Right now, light poles haven't been put in that area, that's where they're gonna go. Signs, the city's talking about trees. So there is gonna be objects in that area that aren't there currently.
That's not going to change the cement. Mr. Malat likes to keep talking about the trees. The trees isn't going to change the cement. You think it's going to keep the people away from walking? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, they're not gonna walk into the trees.
Don't be so sure.
Well, yeah.
I'm just kidding. Well, it's, that's my concerns. I don't like it. I live here, and I will live with it.
I can understand that. Are there any other questions or comments?
I guess my question is, how would having little areas of having a step that might be a tripping hazard that's unexpected be safer in the winter than having a slope that could get slippery? Just doesn't seem to necessarily be an improvement.
I guess that's for the city of Columbus to decide. If you're stepping from one spot to another that's level, generally, you're not as likely to slip. If the slope is deemed too steep, and say ice got on it, yeah, you could slip and you'll be down in the street. We recognize that. But the idea is most people walk up on the sidewalk. That's kind of the way ADA has defined the areas where you're supposed to walk. Any other questions?
Could there have been other alternatives instead of concrete, like grass in that terrace? And why was that concrete chosen over that?
Grass could be put in there. Probably the reason why it wasn't chosen is that most downtowns have concrete. I haven't seen really a downtown area where they have a grass terrace. A lot of this is that ADA, the enforcement of the laws, and is fairly new, so I think in the future, you are going to see, as this evolves, you're going to probably see grass in downtown areas, or a greater definition of where you walk and where you don't walk.
I can see why people don't like this because of the slant. I totally understand that. But, and maybe you can tell me, Mayor, how many lights are we going to have on each street? Is it 2 or 3?
I think it's at least 3, isn't it, Jason, per side, light poles? I think I counted 3 when I was down there. And then, yeah, there will be one hanging off the traffic signals, I think, up there. So I think
So-
about 3 per side.
So if we have 3 lights, 2 trees, a bench, a garbage can, maybe a bike rack, that's 8 or 9 things right there. So I don't think people are going to be walking on that slant anyway. That's not where people normally walk. But I can understand why it looks so horrible now, because it's naked. There's nothing there.
Was there anyone else present that didn't get a chance to sign up that wished to ask a question while we have DOT staff here? Could you please come up just so we can hear the question?
If they decided to do something different, do the step instead, who would be responsible for the cost of ripping out the terrace area and then putting in steps, if that's what ended up deciding what to do?
I don't know if we know that yet, and I think that's all part of why we're doing this right now.
Okay.
But thanks for the question, Larry. Anyone else have any questions?
I just have a couple comments. Whatever happened to personal responsibility or common sense? I've walked this sidewalk several times with no problem. If you're concerned about the slope, you got 5 feet of level to walk on. Why wouldn't you just walk there? It seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't see the issue. And I'm not young by any means. So.
Thank you for your comment. Hi, Bob.
I'm Bob O'Brien, owner of O'Brien Photography, and you saw it in the thing. I just want to say that the Department of Transportation people were a joy to work with. I had some questions and problems, and they solved them right away. So I just think they deserve a little credit.
Thank you, Bob. Were there any other questions? Okay, Andy?
Yeah, I had a question about the potential step. If we did go a step in there, where would we locate that, and where would it, I don't want to cut into any parking stalls, because you can't park in front of the step, because it, you know.
Actually, with a 2-door or a 4-door car, you can park in front of the step.
You shouldn't though, right? We wouldn't want people to park in front of the step.
Sure.
If your car's parked in front of it, people can't use it.
Dave, I think Dave's looking for the slide of the sketch.
Bob and I measured this, the distance from the edge of the terrace to the car door this morning, just to see where it would fall. The car door in this picture is 18 inches from the sidewalk, which means if we put the 1-foot flat spot in and the step, the car door would open into the step area with 6 inches to spare. And by looking at the car, it's pretty close to the curb there. We're parked in the gutter. We're probably about 6 inches from rubbing the tires on the curb with that car. So the car door would open into the gutter, into the step, assuming you're using the proper DOT-approved terrace testing unit, which is a Ford Fusion 2010 variety. If you're bringing out a Mustang, well, it's not going to fit with a 2-door, but with a car like that, which is a fairly common car these days, and a fairly low car, it'll easily fit.
Okay, so stall 3.
All of them will. The worst stall is the one at
stall
the,
3.
Yes.
If you know, so person is so inclined, they want to use that step, and there's a car, impeding on the curb here, it would seem to restrict some access to that person trying to use the step. So why we wouldn't want to put it in front of a, I don't know.
I think you'd be
That's why
able
I'm
to get to it. And then any lower car with a 4-door model like that, you could probably open the doors. And your SUVs and such, that they won't have a problem.
Thanks for coming, first of all, and taking our questions. I guess I was looking to clarify that the step on the cage side of the street would be at stall 4 specifically, correct? Not like between 3 and 4?
Actually, the way we measured it, you're going to have to help me, Bob.
Step will be 78 feet long approximately.
Okay.
There's 2 orange spots out there.
Where were you standing? What was the business you were standing in front of where we measured this 7? Yeah, Home Expressions, and then where were we? Just down past the cage? Yeah, so that would be the area, and I just used 7 inches because that's a standard step height.
Right. I guess my thought is that you guys would be, if we chose to do a step, it would be basically to address specifically that issue at those 2 stalls. We're not looking to have complete access to the step for anybody who parks on the street, right?
It would be up Yeah, up to.
The objective is to solve the scraping issue at the curb for stalls 4
Scraping
and
issue,
3.
and that would be where the sidewalk or the terrace
I guess
is the
I-
steepest. If-
I'm saying I don't think it'd be a problem to have the cars parked there, because it'd be specifically, basically for that spot.
Yeah,
And it's the whole length,
Right.
that whole 7.
So
Yeah.
it's a 78-foot long step.
yeah,
Ah,
Just
okay.
right at that.
Then I have.
yeah. Yeah, it would be the entire length,
Clear to me. Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Rod, you're good?
No, my question was how long the step was, and now then.
I guess you could go, the city could go longer or shorter. I just picked the 7 inches as standard step height. That was my justification for it.
And we've established the DOT is anti-Mustang.
I like Mustangs.
Are there any, okay,
I just wanted to talk about the next steps. I
okay,
guess.
thank you.
The next steps from the DOT standpoint is, we feel it meets ADA requirements as it is, but we can understand the concern and the need potentially, or the desire to delineate it from the walking sidewalk. So I guess we're waiting to hear back from you guys, what you want us, what your thoughts are, what your desires are, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you. Since this is citizen comment, go ahead, Rod.
One more question. If we put the steps in, would we not be able to put street lights and everything else on that step? Or would that have to be a clean step?
When Bob and I were looking at this morning, I think the only thing that was going to get affected by it was there was a tree the city was thinking of planting. It would be in the area of the step. But the street lights aren't in the area of the step as we proposed it. So I think you're okay from that perspective.
Does that mean we couldn't put a tree there, or it would be just a,
You'd only have a 2.5 foot area for the tree.
oh, okay.
Any other questions? All right, we do have an agenda item on the committee of the whole tonight. That's kind of just a standing conversation for James Street items, so we'll be discussing that. Since this is just citizen comment, we wanted the opportunity for people to come in and ask questions while DOT staff was here. And thank you, Dave, for putting that presentation together and the fun photos. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda then. We have council minutes from July 6th, Hillside Cemetery, June 13th, Library Board from May 16th, Senior Center from June 1st, Treasurer's Report, June 2017. We also have a picnic license for the Odd Fellows Oddtoberfest, September 30th, 2017 at the Fireman's Park Pavilion. Is there any desire to separate anything on the consent agenda? Andy?
I was gonna make a motion.
Oh, okay. I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. On to unfinished business. We have one item. Update, possible action on raise orders for 125 and 127 West James Street. And I will turn the floor over to Attorney Johnson.
Thank you. When the council approved the raise orders, a couple, for both 125 and 127 West James Street, a couple of meetings ago, the council gave the property owners until July 21 to make the repairs necessary to avoid further action from the city's perspective. I'm actually very happy to inform you that the stairs at the back of both of these properties have been repaired to the satisfaction of the building inspector. They have been done with a permit. I believe the inspector has done the inspection and has passed on everything. I'm not exactly sure how the repairs came to be, and I don't particularly care. It's not necessarily the city's issue as to that point. So I believe with the building inspector's positive report, everything that was supposed to be done per the raise order is done, rectified, repaired. And if there's no questions, I would gladly receive a motion to terminate the raise orders.
Matt, did you have a question? All right.
I'll make a motion to terminate the raise orders.
Second.
Yeah.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Should we do a roll call vote on that? Does it matter?
It does not matter to me.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to new business. Consider and take action on the application for a Class A liquor license in the city of Columbus for the Painted Crate LLC at 315 East James Street for Cindy Klein, agent. I believe we have a printed copy of that application at our desks for this evening. Also in the packet. Or no, that's not for that. That's for something else, sorry. There we go. Thank you. Any questions on this? Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I did have a question on the map that was being drawn here. I don't know if anybody can explain it. The yellow, is that the sidewalk that's in front? And are they proposing that's an area that would be used, or is that an area that?
The area with the circle around it.
That's the only, okay, on the outside?
So the sidewalk is part of their premises. That's what this is.
This area right here is where they're gonna fence.
Right.
And it looks like it's on the back.
Can you turn a microphone on down there? Thank you.
Well, no, I didn't want anybody to hear me. That was the whole point.
The first floor and the fenced area to the side of the building.
Okay, so it's all the yellow area and the circle area.
The white area here and the circle area.
The white.
This is outdoors, it's not part of the fenced
Okay,
area.
well, that's really a stupid way that's a goofy way of doing this then.
I know, I had to call him and ask him.
Okay.
What are you doing? And she
Did you
said,
hear that,
"No,
Andy?
no, no."
No.
Okay. So the area that is gonna be defined as the premises is the white area on the right-hand side, not the yellow area? Yes,
Okay.
completely backwards
The
as to what,
non-circled area next.
and the circled area.
And the circle.
So it's the white and the circle, but not the whatever green color that is.
Okay.
Yes, which is kind of backwards to how I would look at
Is
it,
this
but,
what is this? Is this the building or is it?
no, that's a fenced-in area.
And then they want to fence it.
See where it
too?
says painted crate? That's
Yeah.
their
Oh,
building.
that's the building.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
see.
That's their fenced area.
yes,
Okay, the map was confusing.
yes.
Thank you.
We didn't create it, so.
Thanks for the clarification. Are there any other questions on the application? If none, then I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the application for a Class A liquor license in the city of Columbus for the Painted Crate LLC at 315 East James Street. Cindy Klein, agent. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll have Ann take a roll on that.
Malat.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Traxler.
Aye.
Hendrickson.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. All right, on to number 2. Consider and take action on a task order 2017-06 with Rupert Milkie to design an extension to Hall Road. This is a discussion we had at the Committee of the Whole. Jason is here to answer any questions.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Per your request last time, there are a couple modifications to the revised task order in your packet. Most namely, we did remove the construction component of this task order because of the nature of the discussion. The schedule was updated also to eliminate the proposed dates for the construction phase of this, and then the cost was revised back to include just the design phase. Just for clarification, that is preliminary design, final design, permitting, and then actually the bidding component of the design phase. So once you would approve the actual bid, and select a contractor, then obviously the secondary component would be the construction phase that we would be resubmitting for at that time. As part of that, I did also submit, which I apologize, I admitted last time, a detailed breakdown of the cost for the design phase by task, by personnel, class, and rate, which is included with that as well. So again, this was for the Hall Road component, which is kind of, I guess, the dovetail to the T-grant application, which provides a lot of that information as part of the design piece. Also, just to note, since we had previously talked, we are starting to see some additional information from the adjacent lots, the designs, the site plans starting to come out a little bit, and incorporation of all that information into the roadway design as part of this. So, I mean, that's kind of part of the encompassing design costs. So.
Any questions for Jason? Matt?
Jason, just kind of a clarifying, looking at Exhibit A and B. A is the breakdown for alley rates, and then B is kind of your estimate for design phase. Looking under bidding section and then the meeting section, attend bidding opening, attend pre-construction meeting, plan review meetings, and then Drexel meeting. These hours were placed under city engineer. I guess I'm just kind of clarifying for my own sake here, looking at Exhibit A for city engineer and then city engineer meeting rate. At what time are those rates, or those, if it's a meeting, and I'm assuming that's attended by the city engineer, is that city engineer meeting rate, or is this, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what define the relationship with me here, I guess.
Sure, absolutely. So when you go back to our master agreement from 2010, what defines a meeting is very specific. The meeting rate is applied at 50% of my billing rate. That covers a couple meetings. One is a plan commission meeting, one's a council meeting, and the other is the developmental team or the staff meeting. Those are all meetings where I may be attending, but we felt at the time when we negotiated the contract, as you know, I'm not talking on every agenda here, so we've reduced the rate substantially for my attendance in those meetings. When it's a project-specific meeting where I might be leading the conversation or conducting, meetings with the developers or something one-on-one, those are at my city engineer rate. I also, just to recognize, I also do have, that is a reduced rate for the city engineering, even though it's not the 50% rate for the meeting rate. But that's what defines what a meeting is. Typically, when you see these hourly breakdowns, you'll see, in this particular design phase, you'll see that we have some junior staff conducting the design. Obviously, they don't have quite the experience and knowledge that somebody with my experience or one of my senior engineers would have. So we supplement their design efforts with our hours. But when it comes to meetings, typically because I live in town, I would usually cover those meetings, because what we do then is we can eliminate travel time and travel costs or mileage, what you would see other consultants bill en route to and from meetings. And it's worked very well over the years. Staff is very accommodating, and businesses are very accommodating to usually meet in the mornings or evenings when I'm either coming from work or going to work. And so that's why you'll generally see my rate show up when we're doing the actual meetings. So I'll usually conduct those, and it does keep me in tune to what's going on and getting the direct feedback as well. So,
Any other questions for Jason? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve the task order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the task order 2017-06 with Rupert Milkie to design an extension to Hall Road. Ann, could you please take the roll?
Reed. Aye. Rule.
Aye.
Traxler.
Aye.
Hendrickson.
Aye.
Kenny.
Aye.
Malat.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you. On to number 3, consider and take action on the renewal of the MEUW Safety Program Agreement. This came through the Committee of the Whole. I think there was some tweaks in the agreement Just to kind of bring it up to date, didn't seem to be a whole lot of questions at the committee of the whole. Are there any questions this evening? If none, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the renewal of the MEUW Safety Program Agreement. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 4, consider and take action on an amendment to the capital improvement plan policy. This was discussed at the Finance Ad Hoc Policy meetings previously, has gone through the Committee of the Whole for discussion, and now it's here for approval. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain any motion.
Motion to approve the City of Columbus Capital Improvement Plan.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the amendment to the capital improvement plan policy. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, consider and take action on traffic signage for crosswalk at Tower Drive and Highview Lane. I'll turn this over to Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. This just it returns to the regular meeting following our discussion about the installation of the sidewalk ramps. We had a lot of discussion about that, and upon the completion of the ramps, we now need to move to the step of putting the crosswalk in, which includes traffic signage, which needs to be brought forward to the council. There was some question about whether we had already did that. That was for a speed limit sign. We didn't approve the signage for the crosswalk, so that's why we have it before you tonight.
Thanks, Patrick. Any questions?
So just to clarify, we're choosing between this one and this one with an arrow versus it's saying ahead?
I think
Or are we doing
they
all
both
of
will
it?
be placed out there. The ahead is a pre-warn for
Yeah.
the actual one at the crosswalk with the arrow.
That's what I thought, but then I was confused by the arrow, so.
Total of 4 signs then?
That's where I was going.
Davis? Davis is indicating yes, there'd be a total of 4 signs installed. Any other questions? I'll entertain any motions.
Mike,
Oh, Matt.
just to clarify, Davis, I was looking in the claims packet, and on your DPW page 2 submittal for claims, you said cost for signs was $245. That's for all of these signs, correct? To kind of put an idea of cost on a handful of these signs if we go forward with a pedestrian plan in town. We're looking at a typical $240 per crosswalk. So, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Andy?
I just want to make a motion to approve the traffic signage for the crosswalks at Tower Drive and Highview Lane.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Signs have been approved. Thank you. Number 6, consider a mayoral appointment of city administrator to the TIF Joint Review Board. I discussed this with Patrick a little bit this last week. I had reached out to an individual who hasn't responded, but we need to have someone appointed to that board to represent the city. So Patrick has agreed to do that. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain any motions.
And a motion to approve the mayoral appointment of the city administrator to the TIF Joint Review Board.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the mayoral appointment of the city administrator to the TIF Joint Review Board. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, consider and take action on application for operators licenses for Sarisa Lysis and Wendy Goodrow. Are there any additional, Ann? Okay, just those 2. Unless there's any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve those 2 operator licenses.
Motion to approve the 2 operator licenses.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the application for operator licenses for Searsa Lysis and Wendy Goodrow. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the claims. Consider and take action on the claims in the amount of $210,287.63. Were there any questions on the claims? If there are none, I'll take a motion to approve the claims.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the claims in the amount of $210,287.63. Take a roll on that, Ann.
Rule,
Aye.
Drexler,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Kenny,
Aye.
Malat,
Aye.
Reed. Unanimous.
Thank you. On to report of city officers. I don't have much tonight, so I'll go first if you don't mind, Patrick. I just wanted to put a reminder out there. We do have some vacancies on a few boards, committees, and commissions currently. If anyone is interested in serving on the library board, we have an opening. The Cable Commission has a citizen opening, and also the CDA, the Community Development Authority, has a citizen opening there. If you would like to know more about those positions, you can contact me, send me an email, or stop at City Hall for an application. I also did want to congratulate the winner of the naming the Pelican slide at the pool was Sophia Campbell, who came up with the name Poncho and was selected by the CAAC Advisory Board. So she was presented with some gifts and a few doodads, I guess, and we had the picture taken at the slide. So now the Pelican is officially named Poncho. So congratulations to Sophia. I had nothing else, Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with just some bittersweet news. Sweet for the lady on the table here, but bitter for the city. Our beloved clerk has announced her exit plan for the city, and while I think there are going to be more appropriate accolades coming as we get to the end date, I think it was just important to talk about that tonight. Last year we commemorated 40 years for Ann with the city, and this August you'll hit 30 years full time, I believe. So certainly put in your time, and you certainly will be missed. But like I said, I think once we get closer, we got some other things that we should be doing to commemorate the hard work and dedication that Ann has brought to the city of Columbus. So a couple other things quickly. Property owners in the city have received their property assessment adjustments from the revaluation, and I wanted to note that those who have questions, concerns, disputes, they can talk to the assessor at the at the open book, which is next Thursday, July 27th, here at City Hall from 3 to 7. So that's your opportunity. There's information on the city website, and the city Facebook sent out a post today too regarding that information. So finally, just a note, I will be on vacation next week. So thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Did anyone else have anything to add up here? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned for about 5 minutes, and we'll reconvene for the committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.